travel
Right.
days.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Without
without,
school program.
no, yeah, so it's the high standard, which we're just, so we're coming up to our funding round. It's not the long-term plan, and it's a TO to get funded to some of these. Yeah.
Very good.
Oh, thank you. I hope it was got up.
Yeah, no, it was really good.
Any questions on the presentation or anything? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's my bad.
Looks like you need to get yourself a small road, you know.
Yeah.
You know what it sounds. I think I know when.
Sexual repair daily, food time race day.
What?
Food time race day.
We had the safety ratings are so dependent on all the electronic gizmos though, rather than passive safety. Yeah, it's almost all that lane departure, all the beepy things, all that. It's
I
almost.
think that steering thing.
And we can, so, yeah,
Is that
if you might
the
buy
nice
your daughter a car, or she's buying a car.
Sorry,
If your daughter's buying a car soon, make sure that you help her out with that, yeah.
yeah.
And it's definitely like older cars, female cars.
She'd put it this way, she'd like to buy a car soon, but that might be dependent on lots of other things. Like other road
This depends on the year.
About, I wanted to like the products that will actually do this. And, you know, it's a small.
You drive.
Sorry.
No, you're all good. I'll crack on, because I don't know you had a
Sorry, I have to go.
Oh, shit.
Sorry, we won't take it.
all the fun stuff's going, so.
All the fun stuff gone.
Yeah, I'm sorry, this is.
No,
Asset management's always fun. So I'll just crack on. Look, I can go through this fairly quickly. I just wanted to take the opportunity to run through where we're up with our asset management plan. We've actually got, so we're going to talk about each of the activities that we do asset management plans for, and I've got them today. Yeah, actually, the tables are empty, so you can all come up. Yeah, come up. And then we've got Marty, who's our property asset manager online, and Michaela, who's our soon-to-be property asset manager, is also online as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, just to get rid of you, downgrade.
We should probably mention Roger as well. He's quite important.
Oh yeah, we're missing quite a few of the team, but these we've got we've got Mike here from the Transport Asset Manager, Morgana from Spring Waters and Solid Waste, and then Properties Online. But we can talk about the activities a little bit more as we go through. I just was I think I've covered this one previously about the asset management system, and as governors, governance, you guys play an important part in the asset management framework, and it's just a bit of a reminder of how there are multiple parts of the system that need to come together for it to work effectively. At the recent LTP and infrastructure strategy workshops, there's been a few comments, and I guess I just today wanted to draw the attention to the important connection that there is between the 30-year infrastructure strategy and the activity management plans. In a usual year, we would have a 30-year infrastructure strategy, perhaps a little bit earlier, and as we write asset management plans, we would really be using the information from the infrastructure strategy and the scenarios that have come, have been selected through your sort of governance deliberations. They would really inform the programs that we develop through the 10-year. That sort of happened to the program, and we've got long lists, and we can develop final programs that meet those 30-year infrastructure strategy kind of objectives, but it has sort of been a parallel process. So the AMP take the information across all of the portfolios that happens in the infrastructure strategy, and then each of the activities delve into the significant issues, the scenarios, and the activity responses in a bit more detail. So that 10-year view, how do we actually take those aspirations and how do you develop them into your sort of your LTP program? And so if you ever take the time to read one of your activity management plans, you'll see that there's a huge amount of detail in there about how and why we develop what we develop in the program. One of the things that we're doing right now is our asset management maturity assessment. So not that long ago, you all approved the asset management policy. This is one of the aspirations in the policy is that we do an asset management maturity assessment every 2 years. And an asset management assessment is done, so we work within an international ISO 55000 framework. We try and have all these objectives that we work to in our asset management world, and the maturity assessment looks at what we do and it looks at where we're aiming to be. So as we go through the assessment for each of the many elements, we set a target and then we have a assessment of where we're actually sitting within it. And it takes you on a basic core you know, and then up to an advanced, and not every activity wants to be advanced. And so there's very different levels of maturity targets that we would go to. We are doing this now, we're a little bit overdue with so much reform and change happening within our organisation and sort of across the country. It sort of fell off the radar, but we're underway at the moment. And this is a collective exercise between the Property and Infrastructure Directorate and within Community and Services. So that covers all the P&I activities and including some of the community and services ones as well. And so we have a consultant run us through. You can do it internally. It's quite a cumbersome sort of framework to work through. But we've chosen to get it facilitated by an external so that it's consistent across all of the activities to make sure that we're not, you know, either scoring ourselves higher or lower, depending. It's a really nice tensioning between how we're performing. And it's done collaboratively with sort of the people within the activity space, particularly through operations and asset management, but tries to take in the broader strategic approach to all of those activities. These are really crucial assessments because they really help us form an improvement plan. So where we're not doing well and we're not meeting the target, it helps us really tighten up and prioritise what the next 2 years of a program will look like. And as we go through the activity overviews, we can talk about those in a little bit more detail. I think you all know what an asset management plan does, but just putting it there again. So, I mean, out of interest, has anybody ever picked up any of our asset management plans? Yes, breaks my heart. Look, they're not easy documents to do, and you'll see we are now trying to do an asset management on a page, which we've done, which is different from your LTP activity management plans. We did us first, but those are probably easy to share, and we're trying to take all the asset management plans are usually very long documents, 200 pages, and so we realised that that's not easy to consume. So we have got one pages that we can have a look at. And, I guess, why do asset management plans matter? They are really a big overview of what we're trying to achieve within each of those activities. So if you want more depth of information around each of those activities, this is a really good starting place. Within P&I, there are 4 AMPs with varying levels of maturity, and certainly we're trying to get consistent approach across all of them. The one that's probably the most mature because it's a deliverable to NZTA is our Transport Asset Management Plan. We've taken huge leaps and bounds in 3 waters and property. Still a bit of work to do, particularly in the property space. And then waste is one where is overdue an update, and we just need to work out that relationship between the Waste Minimisation and Management Plan and the Asset Management Plan. So yeah, in theory, they should be done every 3 years in line with the LTP, and that's kind of the evidence base for the programs that we would be putting forward. We also have a strategic asset management plan. This is more of an internal operational document, and it really contains the how and the why for our organisation about what are our objectives sitting in our policy, and actually how are we going to achieve them. So it should be more of an internal framework document. It covers all of the activities at the moment within, well, all of them, the majority of them within P&I and CNS. We have a bit of a SAMP improvement cycle. So we've only just completed our first SAMP, although it includes Three Waters, and now under the new Commerce Commission information disclosure, it needs to have its own SAMP that will be picked up and run alongside the new Three Waters AMP. So the next step for us will be looking at taking out Three Waters from our strategic asset management plan, and there are some more activities within the Community and Services Directorate that will be in there, and we'll probably simplify it approaches. We've made it quite a cumbersome document at the moment, and I'm quite keen that we perhaps streamline it a little bit. And the SAMP is really something that every 3 years, again, we should be looking at updating, making sure our practices, challenging the way that we do things is still in line with best practice, and we're actually doing it in a fit for purpose way. So any questions so far? You happy that I'm just charging on?
Just the obviously Three Waters is shifting.
Yeah.
Is the Water Services CCO going to be required to follow the same format or use the same?
Can I get back to that one? I've got a page for each of the activities, and I think we can cover that there. Sure. I mean, we can jump to that one. I guess I just from the SAMP and from that asset management maturity assessment process I talked to, we've got a really clear organisational asset management improvement plan, but each of the individual AMPs will also have their own improvement plans to give a really clear approach in their own activities. I'll jump straight to Three Waters and go back to transport, because you've already asked about Three Waters. So we've got Morgana here, who's our Three Waters asset manager, and her and the team have done some incredible work over the last couple of years. The maturity of our asset management in the Three Waters space is really improved. There's been some targeted resources there, which I think has really helped, but the team are really passionate about what they're doing and have achieved some great wins. We are probably one of the first in the country to adopt the Three Waters Water NZ National Data Standard. And for us, we're trying to embed that in our new systems and processes. We have so much new infrastructure coming onto our network that having a really clear data standard just means that the quality of information that we're getting has really leaped up. And so, yeah, it's not that long that you...
Yeah, that's right. So we are going through that process now of implementation of that, but that will definitely increase our data. Yeah.
Yeah, and so on the back of that, it means the data and the analytics that we can do, the visibility of where our network's performing or not performing, things like condition ratings. The team recently have just done a district-wide condition survey of all our above-ground assets and found nearly 2,000 assets that we didn't have in our register. So they were within a facility, we knew they were there, but we didn't have that component level of information. And so it's just constantly, gaining an understanding of what assets do we have and how are we actually going to manage them better going forward. And I think it's going to leave the CCO in a really strong position. I feel, some great work happening there. So for Three Waters, what next? Your question, Gavin, here's your answer. The AMP and the SAMP framework under the new legislation is quite different. We have to do an AMP and we have to do a SAMP, but both of those documents look very different from our current format. They're also very prescriptive. So within the framework that the rest of the organisation is working to, we follow the IIMM, 55,000 standard of what needs to be in an AMP. The Commerce Commission's is very, very prescriptive to a clause level of what you need to have in an AMP, and that looks quite different. So Morgana is working really hard trying to work out what that means and how do we form that. So that's one of the first things that needs to be done with the information disclosure. So yeah, I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Morgana?
No, I think it covers everything. Yeah, we have just started the process. It's a lot of work involved, but we have all the information. It's just making sure we follow what is required. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I guess as you're aware, there's a lot of work happening with the CCO, but we are sort of really focused on doing the basics well. What assets do we have? How are we making sure that they're do we have the right data about them, and working closely with Simon and his team in operations to how does the operational contract impact the data that we collect and the need of the work ahead so that we can forecast our budgets better. So yeah, I've put in some links. Hopefully they work. If they don't, I can make sure they do. We've got a link. The actual asset management plan, the current one, is on the website, so you can access that and have a look at it. We do have a digital app, which is a Power BI version of the Word document. It was a bit of a straw man. We're just trying to work to make the information a little bit more interactive and meaningful. In all honesty, I think the current approach isn't quite right. We do want to tweak the format. It's like we took the Word version and put it into a digital version, and there's some cool stuff in it, but also I think it's quite hard to follow the story of what we're trying to achieve. So I think that's going to be quite a nice step that we can do some real improvements in it. And there is a link to the AMP at a glance, which again is that short couple of pages on what the content of the AMP. And so, yeah, feel free to have a look at those documents and ask any questions. And we are in the process, as Morgana said, we're working through updating this particular AMP right now in a completely new reframed context. Yeah. So any questions in the Three Waters asset management space?
I'll read the 215 page.
Yeah, good luck. It's a bedtime reading.
When there's a couple of situations where we've had, certain areas of pipe that have proven to have weaknesses or whatever, and I don't know whether the Humphrey Street is another example of that or not. Is that the failure the other day? I mean, does this allow you to sort of prioritise those things once you become aware of them in the system?
Yeah, well, actually, on the back of that Humphrey Street item, we're actually going to come back and talk to the A&I committee. I think Simon's had a conversation about getting a piece of work around the renewals program for Three Waters. And actually, one of the advantages of all this data work that we've done is we also now have some really nice dashboard analytics that can say these are the age of the pipes, and you can, all of the team when they're developing the renewals program
sort of risk profile
can actually look at that risk profile and say these ones are really old, these ones we know, and try and the other thing I think that's happening is the team are trying to be as much smarter about, we know we've got all this growth and can we be smarter around when we're doing growth and linking it in renewals to growth and increasing capacity of pipes and things like that at the same time. Yeah. Transport is I guess the importance of the transport AMP is as we go through the LTP process with council, we have to do a parallel process with NZTA. So the AMP actually forms two processes in the transport space. We need to use it to justify the programs that are presented to you guys, and a lot of the evidence that you'll see in the project put forward in the LTP, the evidence sits in the AMP, but the same thing for NZTA. So the NZTA bid needs to be the bid that we put in is all the dollars, and the AMP is the justification for the dollars from them as well. And we actually go through quite a rigorous review process after it. And so that they sort of have two different reviews of the document. So there's one from NZTA from the funding, and then the road efficiency group looks at all the AMPs in the country. And so we have the Transport AMP provides a lot of support to help us improve all of our AMPs, because we get such a rigorous process of review following them. And so recently with, and ours usually score really well. In the transport space, we have recently had what they call a REG excellence assessment, where they essentially, it's a bit like a maturity assessment. They go around, they came to QLDC, they talked to our operations, our strategic people. We got people and capability involved. I think, did they talk to you, Tony? No, maybe they didn't talk to you. But it was really encouraging that we were given a high-performing score, which basically means that, it's just really nice to hear that we're doing a good job in transport. So, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, much that. But what's really nice is this is not just about my reflection on, you know, my team. This is all of P&I, a lot of our corporate policies, you know, the operations team, you know, the work they do in their operational contracts. It's actually really good and can stand up, you know, hold ourselves really high against the rest of the country. So it's just really nice. We're also doing a lot of work at linking our corporate risk register to our operational risk register. Yeah.
This is the obvious question, and I apologize, but how do you interact with risk and insurance when things are well, you know, in terms of asset management? I'm thinking of everybody's favorite 109-year-old bridge that is just glowing in the dark, and we can't do anything about it. I think, you know, the responsibility probably lies with the people who sit around this table, but how do you and risk and insurance elevate that? And how do you elevate that to us? How do you elevate that in general? How do you elevate that to NZTA, or do you?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think a lot of that's the purpose of the AMP and our 30-year infrastructure strategy is identifying those key assets. So criticality is something, I talked about the changes in the Three Waters, and there's a real focus, probably more so than had, around critical assets. What are your critical assets, and being really clear that you know which ones they are and what you're going to do to manage them. And so for us, criticality is that really important one. As long as we know what assets we have and where they are and which are the most important, we should be able to escalate those. It doesn't mean that there's money, but there's been a lot of advocation. I know, Tony, you're talking with ministry, escalating key bridges and things like that at various points throughout the organisation. Yeah. So we have a higher level of service from our contracts, our operational contracts. They look at those assets more often. We have structural assessments done more regularly. We look, postings and restrictions, and the way we manage them is very different when we know that they're critical and high risk.
So I put in a council request for seismic monitoring.
Yep, and have you had an answer yet?
No, I haven't yet.
No, it should be coming to you shortly.
So that should, in theory, sit within these assets.
Yeah, so we have a contract, we have a structures inspection contract at the moment that as soon as we have an earthquake, they know to go and look at critical assets anyway. So that is across all of our all the key structures on a network. But where we know we've got a particular one, we would have, so there were two high priority structures that we would always do an inspection post seismic, which would be Edith Cavell and Skippers. And so that last event, Edith Cavell was the main area of focus. But in parallel, because we've known for some time that's an aging asset, we've had a business case, we are continually doing more and more assessments to monitor that bridge. And seismic assessments is one of those. So we've had a full seismic assessment underway with our structures consultant and hoping for the reports on that very shortly. But we've had some indicative advice on that. Yeah.
As a raised before, the one challenge I put to this is I don't think we apply the same rigour to footpaths and active transport routes as we do to roads. And I know I've had pushback on that in the past, but it's just not the case. We don't prioritise the renewals of those or the condition of those in the same way we do roads.
No,
I think we need to. I think we need to treat them as assets, as infrastructure, and I think we need to treat them in the same way we do roading.
Yeah, look, I took on board what you said, and we've adjusted some of the pathway renewals lines, and you'll see when the LTP detail comes out that there is some additional uplift in there. What I would say is perhaps one thing that we are trying to focus on is managing between the paths that the parks and open spaces team deal with and transport, because like that one you picked up was actually on the radar as the parks one, and I think maybe we just need to get better at treating them as one network rather than
where they sit. Apply the same approach regardless of whether they're, but we had a walk around with a member of the public the other day around downtown, and there were parts of the Curvin Channel that were just way past their use by date, quite frankly, and parts of the footpath and stuff like that. So, I think I couldn't understand how they had been overlooked in that way if we were applying an asset management, and they were clearly in the road.
Yeah, and so what I was saying with asset management, it's not always about doing the worst thing first. Sometimes you do run things to fail, so that if you know there's a bigger piece of work, we have to be careful that we don't renew something where there's going to be a strategic project in the town centre that's going to completely rechange things. So we do have to get a balance. Totally take it on board. I think you're right. Pathways has been, footpaths and cycleways have traditionally been underfunded. They only became subsidisable in 2018. So before then, NZTA never gave us any money for them. In that 2018-21 cycle, we actually got funding, and I think we did some really good work on that. But even with this current government, there's a pushback on how much subsidy that they'll give us on those parts of the network. So we have to make that choice at a governance level. Yep, we're prepared to do more, even if it's unfunded.
Yeah, the last long-term plan, we did have more money in there, but GPS came out and didn't give us.
And didn't do it, yeah.
We had to rewrite a lot of stuff, didn't make sense.
But I think if you've got that built into your long-term asset management, that should protect the ups and downs of government policy, because we should be, well ahead, well, at least on top of the program when those restrictions come around. So, which I just don't think we were, to be fair. And I'm not. It is what it is. And I'm not want to be overly critical, but I think we have to learn from that, because I just don't think we've been on top of it in the past.
There's the asset management plan, and I say one thing, but getting it on the long-term plan doesn't necessarily, it's not a direct link, is it?
Well,
It should be, but yeah, we try. It doesn't always happen though.
I've made that example about the trails renewals, for instance, and that's, once again, it's in a slightly different space, but we know it's a $450,000, $500,000 a year program just to run a renewals program, but we only fund it we're trying to ramp it up, but we've gone from 90 to 180, and then, we're ramping it up over time, but we're still, mathematically, we're still short on being able to renew the network in a reasonable cycle. So it's,
No, take it on board, and really that's, I think, is a political decision about where you would like the priorities to be. We can respond to that with the information and the budgets that we put forward. Three Waters, so waste, this has probably had the least attention from an asset management perspective. We've been really focused on getting Three Waters underway, and I think going forward, once Three Waters takes place, I think there's going to be a reinvigorated approach to this. Again, this is one of the areas that's going to have the asset management maturity assessment taken. There is a bit of work updating the asset register. We're doing the contract that did the above ground assessment of all of our facilities. We're looking at applying that on all of our waste facilities, so that we can get a really clear understanding of what assets are there and what needs to make sure that we're fully and robustly insured. Link that to up. So, and the asset management maturity assessment will help frame the next 2 years, which I think is definitely an area that needs focus here.
Does that include everything from public bins to waste transfer?
It's more the facilities, so the transfer stations and things. Bins, I think, probably is quite a good, knowledge of where our bins are. And,
I suppose the question is, you take a public bin and the ones we've got, how long? What's their usable life? And there's a lot of
renewals.
So have we actually got a program to say, well, this is what we're turning them over?
Yeah, I'd say definitely not as mature as we do in other infrastructure. Yeah,
it might be something we need to look at, because we must have hundreds of them. We clearly can't replace hundreds at a time, so we need to have a renewal cycle.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So now we've got property again. Again, the last year or so, we've had some great wins in uplifting the property asset management space. And we've got Marty online, who has only got a couple more weeks with us, and Michaela, who's going to be, we can't see you, sorry. If I stop sharing, I might not get back to the page. But some really great work happening. I think the CityCare contract and the platform that provides has given an incredible amount of insights into the information. So we've got a load of condition data all over the place, and the CityCare platform has brought all that all together. And I think Martin's been able to achieve some great work in getting insights into what the renewal program would look like, and how we can apply that across a broader of that portfolio. But there's still quite a work to do. The asset management plan needs to be kicked off for the 27-37 AMP. And again, the maturity assessment is providing some great direction on that, but we know there's a big focus on data analytics and getting some repeatable processes and systems. Marty, did you want to give any comments on the property asset management work?
Yeah, sure. Huge focus on enabling all of the functionality from the CityCare contract. CityCare are contracted primarily for the planned preventative maintenance of the property portfolio, which is about $1.2 million a year. So that's all of your scheduled stuff like your building warrant of fitnesses, compliance, making sure that the grounds and maintenance and so forth are all taken care of in accordance with warranties as well. We've also had a fantastic interface with finance and being able to GL code our expenses tighter and monitor the OPEX costs really closely. So we're working with CityCare to reduce those costs, which is a core part of the procurement of that specific contract. So we're looking to have some strong savings across there in the coming years. The data piece is super incredible. One of the biggest benefits of that is we'll be able to measure in real time the condition of our assets and make sure that that condition grading meets our agreed service levels, and really fine tune the renewals and new cap work to meet those and really be able to justify it. So the investment framework that was provided by the business improvement team and Jesse's team, the investment team was absolutely fantastic. It was really rigorous. It's exactly what we would like to be working towards. And also we're looking at some programs to improve the demand forecasting inside of the facilities, which will be foot traffic as well. So we'll be able to see which pieces are getting really hammered and where we can fine tune that spend over time as well. Yep. So does that help?
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, any
Cool.
questions from committee? Everyone happy? Cool. So again, I'd just like to leave the little video here if you want to. I think to do at home, you can watch the little asset management video. I guess one of the things I do want us to get better at in our asset management is getting an endorsement of our asset management plans through this committee. And so, yeah, I guess over the coming months, I'm hoping that we'll be able to bring the plans once we're working through them, and you know, get that sort of endorsement from council that we really should be doing as best practice.
That's within our delegations in terms of reference. That's one right there as well. Yeah, we probably just need to check that.
Okay, yeah.
We need to or make a recommended to council. Was I'm just thinking.
Yeah. I don't think it probably needs to go to the full council, but
No, but I'm just wondering whether we've got the, as I said, in the delegation.
Okay.
So we'll, I mean, it's resolved or otherwise, but we'll work it out.
so that's us. Thank you very much. Asset management.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate. See you, mate.
The next on the list is what? Regional settings processing facility. Oh, safety and something.
Your favourite subject.
I think it's eagerly anticipated.
Which ones? Because you've got three. Do you want all three? Oh, no, just the slides. Cats? No, just the slide. Oh, and
So our audience is not very big.
yeah, more. Right.
I feel obligated.
Just the same. Questions.
I'm a ringer for this thing.
So we haven't got anybody online?
Don't think so.
Not for elected members anyway. Okay. So exciting times, opportunity to provide you with an update on Central Otago District Council's proposed CORO project, which is the Central Otago Regional Organics Project. And the aim is to provide you with an understanding of the potential pathways, the risks and benefits, and get some feedback on a preferred pathway. So I'm not seeking any binding decisions, but we are seeking some feedback on the proposal to participate in this regional facility so that I can take that back to CODC. We are joined online, hopefully. Yeah. by, did you say yes? He is on there. He is on there, great. Stefan Barovi from Morrison Lowe Advisory, who prepared the attached report to this briefing paper, which builds on the original business case for curbside organics, which we put in front of the previous council back in 2024. So I'll be running through this slide pack. I've got Simon here and Stefan online for any tricky questions. But we'll just run through this. Bear with me, but I'm just going to remind you that based on curbside bin audits, over 30% of the average rubbish bin is 20% green waste, and sorry, 30% food waste and 20% green waste. So more than half of everybody's rubbish bin could be composted instead of going to landfill. And to consider ways to avoid this resource being sent to landfill and reduce the emissions, we undertook the business case to consider a wide range of options for the collection and processing of the material. The preferred option was approved by council in February 2024. It was consulted in the LTP 2434, and it is identified as a key initiative in the WMMP and the Climate and Biodiversity Plan. And that preferred option, the visual of it is those bins just at the bottom of the slide. It consists of the introduction of a new weekly collection of food scraps and green waste in an 80-litre bin, which is a smaller bin than your average bin, with the option for households to upgrade to a larger organics bin if they preferred. There'd be no change to the curbside glass collection nor the mixed recycling collection, but we do propose to reduce the refuse collection to fortnightly, which is sort of offset by 50% of that material being in a new organics bin. So on adoption of that option, the previous council also agreed to enter into formal discussions with CODC for acceptance of the collected material at their proposed early stage thinking CODC facility. And so today's discussion is to update you on those discussions. CODC have had a food organics, garden organics in the business. We call it a FOGO service for their residents since 2023. And the material is transported out of central Otago all the way up the coast to Enviro NZ's facility in Timaru. That service is now in its 4th year, and their household participation rates and tonnages collected are much better understood. Now that that's in place, CODC and ENZ are developing more detailed plans and looking at the potential co-funding arrangements for the proposed Coro facility. So CODC have 3 million in their LTP, and pending our preferred pathway, CODC have provisionally secured 3 million of capital from the Waste Minimisation Fund, which used to be part of MFE's bag, but is now MCERT, the new mega ministry. So back in May, a couple of months ago, CODC staff came to us and presented us with an update on their facility plans, and have basically shown us their delivery program and have requested for us to consider an in-principle supply agreement, which would help secure the MCERT funding and enable the next phase of detailed planning of their facility to proceed. So really, we're looking at what those kind of terms might look like. Just a little bit about the proposed methodology. As part of CODC's business case and their application to, formerly known as the MFE, they considered a whole variety of ways to deal with the material, and they landed on ASP, aerated static pile composting. It's a proven low-tech, low-cost methodology, and it's the preferred methodology for this proposed facility, which will be built on CODC-owned land next to the Alexandra Refuse Transfer Station. It basically places the collected material onto concrete pads where the material is aerated through forced air, which negates the need for regular mechanical turning. The whole facility is proposed to be within an enclosed area, which would provide much greater odour control than an open air facility. And note, that is not what it looks like. It's a pulled together image of what it could look like. So,
Would just be big piles of food.
yeah. Now that CODC are at this point in the development of their plans, they do need some feedback from us to progress that, as the scale of the facility is very dependent on the volumes of material throughput. So we commissioned Morrison Lowe Advisory to review and update the assumptions from our business case a couple of years ago. So looking at the anticipated tonnages, the volumes, the costs, and then provide us an analysis of the possible pathways that we are now at. Here they are. So you've probably had a chance to look at those, but I will run through them quickly. One option, let CODC know that we are keen to participate now. It's the preferred pathway from a cost and a risk perspective. It means we join at the outset, sharing in a regional solution. It will provide the lowest gate fee, and it would secure approximately 3 million of MSIP funding. It also gives us a strong position in negotiations around long-term pricing and governance. Alternative option is that we could defer joining Coro and CODC take a staged approach to the development of their facility. Whilst this kind of allows us to think about it for a while, it would likely result in higher gate fees. And there's quite a significant risk that MSIP will not fund a CODC only facility. They're very keen on a regional solution to provide that 3 million funding. Another option is we don't have anything to do with the Coro facility. We look at an option in district. There's nothing at the moment, but we could develop and operate our own. It would obviously require capital investment and a lot of responsibility for delivery, and we'd have the risks associated with securing land, consenting, and construction costs. And the other option identified in the report is that we do none of those, but we transport all of our material to an existing facility, e.g. Timaru, and leave them to it. Highest cost pathway exposes us to ongoing transport costs and any fluctuations in fuel and market pricing. So overall, the analysis indicates that joining with CODC in a Coro solution would provide us the most cost-effective, lowest risk, and maximise access to external funding and give us an opportunity to influence what that looks like.
Would the scale of the project change between 1 and 2?
Yes.
It would.
Oh, between 1 and 2, sorry, a deferred.
Versus joining now versus joining later.
Yes, they wouldn't build the facility to meet our needs in 2 or 3 years' time. They would wait for us to build an extension to the existing facility, which increases that capital cost at that point.
Quick question, and I'm glad Simon's here. I'm just trying to marry up the Shuttle wastewater treatment plant and this, because SJ Allen drives away with a bunch of stuff that gets caught in your initial filter. Does that marry up with this?
No, so the sludge from the wastewater treatment plant wouldn't be accepted in this.
How come?
It compromises the pathways for the product you produce.
You wouldn't be able to send it back to our residents or use it in our parks and reserves. You would be looking at a whole different risk profile for material that's blended with biosolids, and you probably wouldn't be doing an aerated static pile next to the urban area of Alexandra.
Oh, it's got human
hazardous waste.
pathogens.
It's more hazardous material. It wouldn't be able to undertake that operation. It's so close to residential.
Got it. Thank you.
And it's not just the human aspect, it's the industrial contaminants from that material as well that get into a system and the unknown quantity.
Okay, I understand.
I made the comment the other day that there's different types of decisions, but I think this is a pretty easy one. I'm happy to support what you're putting forward there. It makes sense, and I think logically it makes sense to have a joint services model for something like this, and it happens to also be the cheapest. So it's a little bit of a no-brainer in that respect. So.
I think that's yes.
Yeah.
Well,
Do you want me to-
We genuinely support
my point is that we angst over lots of decisions. I don't think this is one we need to. I think I'm brave enough to punch on and go, just like not,
I guess maybe that bravery will need to continue to when you debate the LCP, when you look at the additional costs of the service, and the other pressures.
Put your money where your mouth is, is that what you're saying?
Not exactly. Those are your words, not mine.
Pretty much, yeah.
the imperative for organics from a government perspective's changed. Though, hasn't
right.
it? So we're doing this because we think it's the right thing to do, rather than because we're required to do it. That's the only variable. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, it's not mandated anymore. But from preserving our landfill capacity is a very important initiative for us.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah.
And doing the right environmental thing, carbon perspective.
Heading in the right direction. Well, it's obviously was set previously by government, so it might swing back that way eventually.
How does the end product factor into the costs?
I do have Stefan online, and I can't remember if we've managed to get that level of detail out of CODC yet. The intention is that if, subject to today's feedback, in general, proceed with understanding some more of those nuances around their preferred model, around what the duration of the contract might look like, and some of the feedback around what do we do with the end product, how does that factor into these costs. You give me the go-ahead to have those conversations. I come back to you with all of that information and a supply agreement and say, here's the detail. Are you still in? I've tentatively put a date in the October calendar to do that at a full council meeting. But yeah, there is still some of that detail to work through with CODC. My understanding is whilst the material has a pathway locally, because obviously CODC are already shipping up to Timaru, the material is going to commercial buyers in Timaru, in the wider area, that they've explored the market in the Central Otago, Queenstown Lakes. It's looking really positive. One of our investment objectives was to ensure that we would have access to this material so that the households know that their material has a beneficial use. They can get their hands on it. It builds that loop of engaging with the service. It's an important part for us, but I don't think we've got to the, CODC have got to the stage of exactly what that material come back would look like. I know our Parks and Reserves team import material from down south, so we would be wanting a slice of that end product pie.
Yep. Is it worth just, Stefan, can you correct me? My understanding of the modelling here is that it allows for the revenue to be kept and collected by the processor, so Environment Z, and it's already been baked into the gate fee. Stefan, is that correct, that assumption?
Kia ora, everyone. Yes, that is correct. There is a processing gate fee. We've also added some of the costs of the interest and loan for CODC to build the facility as well. So that's all included in the anticipated processing cost or gate fee.
Thank you.
The voice from above. Sorry, your face is to a Stefan, but thanks for helping us with some of those modelling understandings.
These costs per household, that's per year.
Correct.
And it's on top of what we currently pay for waste.
Waste services.
Yep. So that ends up being probably, I don't know, 1.5 to 2% on top of a rates bill, on top of the current rates bill, maybe $100 extra a year.
I won't guess the percentage.
Yeah.
I think that's right. So that's what you're saying. Be prepared to follow through the LTP stage.
Yeah, so in the discussions that we had for the 30-year infrastructure strategy, preferred pathways, that was in the preferred pathway package. And so any associated impact on OPEX will be coming through those LTP discussions. I'm not too sure when you've got scheduled your next touch point on that program, but you'll see that impact. I'll make sure that these updated figures get fed through into that part of the program. It is something we haven't talked about is these costs, and the model is a guess in terms of participation levels. Obviously, curbside organic services haven't been in New Zealand for a really long time. There's a few standout councils like Christchurch that have had one for a long time, but it is still, I think we maybe 20 councils across NZ that have a curbside organics at the moment. So we don't know how enthusiastic New Zealanders are at participating. The intention is to have a really significant engagement campaign before a rollout of a service. It was something we talked a lot about when we did the original business case, that we wouldn't just rock up and put a bin on the curbside and expect people to participate. It involves a lot of community engagement, and the community composting hubs, for example, that we have, like the Zero Waste Glenorchy one, and other initiatives, our Dr. Compost initiative, would be tapping into all those existing engagement avenues to build on, hey, you've got this new bin coming, this is how you use it, this is how you use it properly so that there's no contamination, etc. So we would like to think our residents are highly motivated, but until the bin's on the curbside, we don't know what those participation levels would be like, hence these low and high tonnages. And those scenarios change the price, how much material you're moving around, how much you're having to process, will change what the rate on the gate is.
Is there any avenue for including commercial food waste in this as well?
The intention is that the facility be scaled to receive commercial material. Our model doesn't suggest that QLDC will offer a commercial service, but we anticipate that whoever would pick up the bins would be interested in their add-on for picking up commercial bins.
So we just contract the domestic service and they.
Correct.
Yeah.
Would just be,
but having that pathway there with a facility, I haven't thought through the consolidation aspects, whether we would share any consolidation of that material, how that would work out. I don't think I noted, or you might have seen in the report, the best case timeline is still late 28, 29 delivery. So we've got time to nut out some of those sorts of details.
I think I asked it last time, but the saving you make by collecting the red bin every second week, does that offset the delivery cost of this?
Stefan might have the numbers in front of him, but it's not as exciting as you'd hope, the offset of that, and the offset of the cost to put the material in the bit flats. It is built in. I've got a feeling I remember $50 somewhere. Stefan, I don't know if you can talk to that. It's not as exciting because you do need a different truck, you need a whole set of new bins, you need a new service.
And for a lot of people, they probably just jam 50% more stuff into the one bin over 2 weeks rather than, so it's not actually
it's heavily dependent on behaviours.
well, I don't know how people fill up the whole red bin every week anyway. How's next week's to fill up? People do it.
Yeah, our red bin varies, and I mean, we end up ironically putting garden waste and various things in it because we don't have an alternative. We do often fill our recycling bin strangely, and there's lots of cardboard and stuff. It's various things, but we never ever. I wouldn't fill our glass bin in a year.
No, that's when we got took a year and a half to fill it up.
I think we put it out 2 or 3 times a year at most. And I think as it gets heavy with this much,
There are some full glass bins on a regular basis.
One of the drinkers will fill them relatively quickly, but we're not really that categorized.
All right, I've only got.
It's interesting. I mean, it will be a challenge, but I gather it's gone reasonably well elsewhere where they've done that and the behaviour sort of changes. But,
I've only got one slide left, well, 2 slides left, really, a summary of that, but I think we've covered most of these risks and the opportunities. I don't really need to read over those. You're well aware of those. Yeah, as noted, I'm seeking feedback so that I can go back to CODC. They would love us to give a really strong commitment, but I understand we can't do that. But they would definitely like us to give some feedback that in principle, we're ready to draft a supply agreement that I can bring back for a decision with full council. This MCERT funding risk is very real, and they have pressure on them from MCERT to give them the signal from QLDC that we are interested in participating.
Well, the deputy mayor's fully in support. The mayor before he left for said he was in support.
Okay.
Of regional facilities. So
I mean,
that's for the mission.
yeah, no, I'm okay. No, as I said, no, I mean, as Simon said, I think we've sort of viewed it in the context of the overall affordability and various things in the LTP, but with that caveat, I'm very comfortable with the recommendation.
Are there any key negotiation points front of mind for the supply agreement you'd like to look at?
I think you've touched on it, you know, that if there is benefit in using some of the end material when bringing it back, then we want that to be beneficial, but part of the contract, but not at any cost, because, you know, you don't, that obviously has a cost benefit. So just
that's right. You start to take some of that risk if you want the opportunity.
And yeah, I mean, I presume we've got the benefit is they take the bulk of capital risk here, which I think is a massive benefit for us.
At the end of the day, it's a waste product we need to get rid of.
Yeah, well, the whole, whereas it's not for the end product, we're doing it for other reasons, to get rid of and to address landfill and various things. So focus on those outcomes. If there's a benefit the other way around, there's an upside, not a.
Would you say the collection would be a variation to the existing waste management, or would it be a separate?
That's a collection procurement decision to work through.
Yeah. How big are the big crew? Because I've seen some that are only little, like this. Ours are medium sized, I think.
Slightly smaller than the 140.
Yeah, an 80 litre is about yay high.
But there's some that are just like
little caddies.
So the 35 ones are in Auckland and they're food scraps only.
Yeah.
Whereas ours is a proposed FOGO solution.
Yeah. So it includes green waste
and food scraps. The option will definitely be there for a larger bin, because there was I don't know if you recall, quite a lot of work done on understanding the behaviours of what size bin you have on your curbside. And if you give somebody a very large bin, they tend to only use it for garden waste, and the food scraps tend to stay in the rubbish bin. But from an emissions perspective, it's food scraps that we want to get out of the rubbish bin. So the smaller bin kind of helps behaviours to put food scraps in there as a priority.
Yeah, with the green waste and all that, does it also allow, like, I know that at the film festival we were able to recycle soft napkins and things like that. Does it, I mean, how do you deal with that education? Because there will be other things that you can include in there that are readily compostable.
It'll be the
tissues.
It'll be the same scenarios with our recycling bin. We have to be very clear on what materials can go in that bin. CODC will, based on the ASP, aerated, I can't remember what it's called now, aerated static pile methodology, they will make the call on what can go in that bin. I can't remember if serviettes are allowable in their current green bin.
I mean, it's a fairly minor thing, but I'm just trying to work out on the scope, because green waste can be everything from quite sort of woody sticks to, you know, just soft leaves. But yeah, so it's sort of a strange, they obviously mulch it, but like actually macerate it.
Good point. I don't know if the intention is to do any chipping, mulching prior to laying down on the concrete pads.
I'd be interested, because once again, green waste, like I said, green waste is a broad category, and you know, it could be compromised by, you know, pretty woody sticks and things like that. So there must be some means of macerating it. Anyway.
Just leave
We'll
it.
find out. If I've got to
Yeah.
go ahead, I'll find out more information from CODC on presentation of material.
Would you encourage people to put dog waste in there, for instance?
They allow pet waste in the current system that they have that's going to Timaru.
Right.
Whether or not their proposed ASP at the Alexandra Refuse Transfer Station will allow for such a broad range of materials, TBC. Yeah.
I mean, they're just spitballing, but you know, like it's obviously you wouldn't want people doing it with plastic bags, but if they had decomposable bags and threw them in there with dog poo, would that meet the criteria or not?
So there's something we need to work through,
For us,
Yeah, you happy with?
move forward, have some conversations with CODC, come back to you.
Yeah. Yeah,
Cool.
thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm going to stay here and invite my colleague Emma up for your other favourite part of the year, which is a presentation on the Waste Minimisation Community Fund. A bit of a summary of what happened
See ya.
last year. Oh, thank you, Stefan. Apologies. Thanks.
Thank you, no problem. See ya.
See you later.
Who's the elected member?
So yeah.
Waste Minimisation Fund?
We had Nicola come and
You got
help with
Nicola?
assessments, yeah. Previous years it's been Cody and, before that, I think Cody and Nikki.
So I really did about 20 November. So
Okay, if you disappear.
not because I have
That's
All right,
good.
you might be wrapped up later than you are.
Could be.
Hopefully it's a short and sweet and feel good one for the end.
Life on the other.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, you're gonna go through the slides
Yeah.
for me. Thank you. You can keep on that one to start with. Okay, so the Waste Minimisation Community Fund, or WMCF, is an initiative of PODC's Waste Management and Minimisation Plan, for our WMP. The purpose of this contestable fund is to support initiatives that minimise waste, maximise resource recovery, and move us towards becoming a zero waste and sustainable district. Interest in the fund has grown since its inception in 2019, and as of 25-26, we have now supported 70 projects. And with the award of this year's fund, that will bring the number up to 80. For a number of these projects, the funding provides a catalyst for launching initiatives that continue to evolve and grow, either into successful self-sustaining ventures or becoming a part of QRDC's Zero Waste District program to deliver waste minimisation initiatives to the community on our behalf, and all of which have contributed in some way, shape or form to achieving our WM objectives. A total of 60,000 is allocated, $6,000 it is allocated to the fund annually. Of that total budget, 50,000 is committed through the Council's WMP initiatives budget, and an additional 10,000 is sponsored by Council's Solid Waste Services contractor WM. Applicants can apply under two categories, one being commercial waste minimisation, and the second being community action and behaviour change. The fund can be accessed by individuals, community groups, businesses, iwi Māori organisations, educational institutes, and other community-based organisations operating within the district. Next slide, thank you. I've just included this, the application assessment framework. It focuses on funding projects that deliver meaningful waste minimisation outcomes and community benefit. Proposals are assessed on their alignment with the WMP and QRDC's wellbeing outcomes, their ability to reduce waste and recover resources in accordance to the waste hierarchy, which is again on the screen there, really small, so I don't expect you to be able to read it all, and their capacity to encourage community participation and behaviour change. The highest weighting is given to alignment with the waste hierarchy, particularly initiatives that focus on the upper levels, such as rethinking, reducing and reusing, rather than solely recycling and disposal. Next slide, thank you. So in 2025, a total of 20 applications were received, totaling a request of just under 200,000. 13 of these were successful in being awarded funding, and I'll now provide an update on some of these projects. Okay, Whakatipu Toy Library, they're helping reduce single-use waste from parties and celebrations by creating reusable party cake lending service, giving Queenstown Lakes families affordable access to reusable decorations, tableware and party resources, promoting sharing and reuse. The project has established a long-term community resource, which is continued waste minimisation benefits, with continued waste minimisation benefits expected as the service expands following this first year of launching. Natasha Murphy made reusable menstrual discs accessible to people experiencing period poverty, reducing reliance on single-use medtech products and the associated waste into landfill, while increasing awareness of sustainable menstrual care options. The initiative delivered both waste minimisation and social benefits, with positive participant feedback, highlighting increased awareness, confidence and change behaviour. Wasted Kate delivered tailored waste education sessions in 3 retirement villages across the district, helping older adults reduce household waste through better recycling, food waste reduction and increased awareness of reusable incontinence products. Program provided an in-depth support sparked ongoing discussions about waste reduction and distributed waste minimisation products and resources to participants to try, equipping the residents and staff with some practical actions to reduce waste in their daily lives. Protect Our Winters focused on reducing snow sports equipment waste by running community repair workshop, gear swap and education sessions. They encourage repair, reuse and more sustainable consumption within the Wanaka snow sports community. Attendees gained practical repair and maintenance skills, extended the life of their equipment and reported a stronger preference for repairing rather than replacing their gear. It also built strong partnerships with local businesses and volunteers, creating a model for future waste minimisation events. The Women's Shed Aotearoa has been diverting surplus construction materials from landfill by purchasing a dedicated trailer to collect and transport reusable building offcuts and materials from local construction sites, supporting reuse through community workshops and skill building activities. Project has generated strong support from local building companies with high levels of interest in donating surplus materials and has laid the foundation for future repair, reuse and upcycling programs. Dripping Bowl purchased and installed a second-hand commercial bottle washer, enabling operational bottle return and reuse scheme. The initiative is now diverting approximately 200 glass bottles per week from disposal streams, reducing demand for new packaging and embedding reusable bottle return behaviour among customers and retail partners. And it's demonstrated a scalable model that other businesses can learn from. Adaptive Snow Sports Whakatipu diverted unwanted ski clothing and equipment from landfill by upcycling discarded jackets, pants, sleeping bags and other snow gear into unique snow skirts. Promoting sustainable fashion and raising awareness for textile reuse. The project established a volunteer-led upcycling program, engaging community members, and has now a total of 34 snow skirts have been produced so far and are available for sale to the community, with profits going back to the Adaptive Snow Sport program. The project has successfully demonstrated a practical reuse model built on community involvement and lays the foundation for future growth. And lastly, this one's for Cody, but he's not here, unfortunately. But Aspire Preschool installed and operationalised its composting system, training staff in compost management, expanding worm farm capacity, and began diverting food and garden waste from landfill. The project has engaged over 70 families and multiple community partners, creating an ongoing educational resource that teaches children about the full sustainability cycle, from growing food to composting scraps and returning nutrients to the garden. Okay, so moving on to this year's funding round. Over the month-long application period, we received a total of 16 applications requesting approximately 200,000 in total funding, so quite similar to the previous year. To ensure a fair and thorough evaluation, a panel was formed. This included staff members, Strategy and Planning Manager at Waste Minimisation, so Fernanda, Senior Sustainability Advisor, Kath Butter, and myself, Waste Minimisation and Sustainability Advisor, along with Councillor Nicola King. And yeah, I'd just like to take the opportunity to acknowledge and thank Councillor King for her valuable time and input into our assessment of applications this year. Each application was assessed against the fund's criteria and a weighted scoring system was used to rank submissions. Following the scoring, the panel held a discussion to moderate and finalise the funding allocations. A memo of these recommendations was then approved by the Strategy and Infrastructure Planning Manager, and all applicants have been notified of the funding outcomes with a media release going out at the beginning of July. So this is where the funding was awarded this year. So got two projects with the Arrowtown Promotion and Business Association. So one being Community and Visitor Waste Reduction Initiative that will support Arrowtown businesses and accommodation providers to reduce waste and adopt single-use cup-free practices through targeted community-led engagement, aiming to significantly increase uptake and create lasting behaviour change. And the Arrowtown Restaurant Waste Reduction Initiative, which will support APBA restaurants to reduce food waste and shift behaviours through targeted food waste collection services and practical interventions. Cook Brothers Construction, the project Building Smarter Wasting Less, will deliver a series of practical workshops using real-world construction waste data and drive industry-wide change by helping designers, tradies, clients and suppliers reduce waste at source. Ironman New Zealand will be disrupting the Queenstown Marathon. So this is the Disrupt Reusable Serveware initiative. And so this will expand the use of reusable cups at the marathon finish line to support the event zero waste goals. Kiwi Harvest, the project Kiwi Home Harvest, is a circular economy program that turns landfill-bound waste into free self-watering modular garden units for households, combining material recovery, community engagement and scalable design to promote food resilience and lifelong sustainability learning. And another Kiwi Harvest project, the Superhero Household Food Waste Education Program. This project is co-funded by KLDC's Community Fund and is a primary school program that will use gamification, personalised missions, digital engagement and teacher tools to drive measurable household food waste behaviour change. We're funding again the Protect Our Winters Winter Gear Repair Night, so bringing the winter sports community together again for evening workshop focused on learning how to repair the gear and extend its lifespan. Restaurant Association of New Zealand, KaiKeeper's Food Waste Reduction and Diversion Toolkit will provide a self-guided toolkit that helps hospitality businesses to measure, reduce and divert food waste from landfill through practical tools, strategies and industry-supported engagement. And the Wanaka Community Workshop, Women in Wood Workshop, will deliver a series of women-focused oh my gosh, this is a mouthful. Women-focused woodworking workshops. I wrote this myself. They build confidence and independence by teaching practical DIY and repair skills, using repurposed materials and promoting self-sufficiency and waste reduction. And then Without Waste, running a pilot project for integrated construction, waste engagement and diversion, using detailed site data, on-site engagement and behaviour change strategies to reduce construction waste to landfill, producing a replicable model and case study to support wider industry adoption. And I guess what I would say about all the recipients for this year is you probably do see there's quite a focus around construction, demolition waste and also food waste, which are two of our top priority areas under the WMP. So yeah, it's really great to have seen those initiatives come through in the application process. So other way. Questions, yeah. For information, I have included our Zero Waste Funding magazine as an attachment, and this provides profiles of many of the projects that QRDC has supported through the Waste Minimisation Community Fund since inception. This is continuing to be updated as we make our way through with all the applications and using the post project reports from our applicants. So yeah, if you have any questions, happy to take those now.
Question here. For the commercial applicants, do they put a dollar figure as well that they contribute to their projects, or is it just funding from QRDC?
It can be either. I'm trying to think which one the Restaurant Association is the one that came under, we covered sort of under that commercial funding this time around, I believe, helping target restaurant commercial businesses. And I need to go back to the application and see if they're also contributing some. Thinking from last year, the commercial one was Dripping Bowl, so the reusable bottle scheme, and I believe we partially funded that, and they've come up with. And I think their initial funding request for that one was quite a lot higher than what we could provide. So
like Cook Brothers is one there.
Yeah, they tend to be a co-funded project in that commercial category, and actually quite a few of the community ones tend to be co-funding. So the full project budget will be larger than the request that comes through the QRDC. Yeah, not always, but probably 50-50 across both the commercial and the community fund.
Maybe a broader question around construction waste. Are we seeing any movement in terms of the volume that's coming through?
Can't comment to the.
It's probably a side question to what.
Yeah,
not really.
It is a hard one to track sometimes as well, because it is a lot of commercial contractors collecting, disposing of that waste. Yes, we get it through you see what's coming through the transfer station, but it could be a lot of other things that they don't really.
Anecdotally, I'd say that the operators at the transfer station are reporting higher volumes, which makes sense with our growth.
Yeah.
The deep dive into the volumes, somebody stands there for a few days and does an analysis of everything coming through. We only do that every 3 years. We're planning to do that in the next few months or a year. The last time we did it was 2023. That would give us our trend, whether or not anything's changing. We would then have to overlay that with the volume of growth that we've seen in our area at the same time. I don't know if you get any more feedback from your transfer station operators about month to month. There's certainly growing interest in the Better Build Working Group, which is part of the Zero Waste District program. We support a cluster of sector stakeholders, from the traders out on a site through to architects and the design teams, to work together to try and resolve some of these problems. There's more interest and involvement in that, but how that spans down through into how many pieces of timber are now being saved on every site, we haven't got that. The project, the Without Waste project intends to capture some of that data through an innovative way of capturing sales of construction material and then throwing that through into an app, which then converts it into a volume of material and then a pathway for how much was then put into a different bin instead of a skip bin. So I think one of the wins of engaging with that will give us more regular updates on site-specific projects, rather than waiting every 3 years to see what was going on or anecdotal feedback from transfer station operations. I think we can probably safely say it's not slowing down.
No. Yeah, and it always comes back to every dollar you spend in this fund, does it have an impact? Because ultimately it's an outcome we're after, isn't it? I'm not a judge.
I guess what I'm asking is a derivative of that. When I think of construction with waste I take, it goes down the hole, it gets crushed, a lot of it's used, shame on me. It's a major component of this separation, culling the waste, pulling out the stuff that we have put green waste with metal waste and that sort of thing. You follow what I mean?
So what was the question? I think
I guess my question is trying to get, you know, the pure the pure sectors of waste and take out the pieces that shouldn't be in there. In other words, you have people providing it. Is that a major cost?
We don't have the pathways for all of those. Like you can pull, obviously, your mixed recycling cardboard paper cans and pull that out of your household waste stream, but we don't have the pathways yet for a lot of the construction waste materials.
When you say pathways, what that sounds like is you don't have the money.
Or even the money and the option to do something else with that material. So when the Better Building Working Group are looking at those options, they're exploring, for example, one of the new projects is a focus on Marley piping, the UPVC piping. So horizontal and vert construction will be using lots of Marley piping. We're exploring a regional project that would allow for that material on a site to be separated, go to a consolidation point, get on a backloaded truck. This is a Otago-wide proposed project, get it up to Christchurch to go through a facility that can turn it back into pipe. It's a Marley project led by Marley, but we have a bit of a role here to play to enable testing that if it's going to work. Dunedin are looking at backloading via railway networks. Obviously, Central Otago and Queenstown Lakes are more challenged for the transport networks to get a pathway for certain materials to be repurposed, recycled, reused. So
what this screams to me is it's not economic to
at the moment, yeah,
it's just and it may be that we don't have the scale or the infrastructure for it to exist.
If it was commercially attractive, we wouldn't have this problem. But we have heard that there are people who are beginning to be interested, probably because of the scale that's being created in our district.
And a lot of it relies on people sorting it out where it's created, rather than it turning it on a transfer station that you can pick it out. And if people are seeing that there's some benefit to them separating their waste because it's cheap for them to dispose of it separately, then that's when they might buy into it at the construction site. So that'd be right.
I think another good example is the timber as well. So I mean, I can't remember the percentage of timber, and that's the biggest waste stream in our landfill. All of that can be diverted, but the challenges around the reprocessing and how that can be used again. So obviously, treated timber has a lot more complications. So there's a lot of work that the Better Building Working Group is also focused on around integrated design and having architects and designers thinking about whether they actually need to be using that sort of, like, does treated timber need to be used in the build, and how is timber being cut and measured to go to a building site so that it's not
pre-nailed frames and trusses produce less oxide waste. We have efficiency of the source as well. So there's all that sort of stuff. But yeah,
it's changed the way we build.
It's interesting. The local yacht club did a bit of an internal renovation the other day, and there was a trailer load of rubbish, and that was $260 or something just to dump it. So that the penalty is real now of dumping it to landfill for sure. So like you say, the incentives in there already. I mean, that's
the arbitrage that I've discovered, is that if you've got a big ball of cement that you pulled out of the ground, to take it to landfill for almost $250. Take it to Alex is 10. Wow.
The Cook Brothers one here, it's similar to an AOF scheme that they
No, so the Cook Brothers one, Christy Jones, Cook Brothers Sustainability Manager, over the past 18 months, she's been running a project at the mill that's been built in Frankton, the new high performance sports centre. So through that whole build project, she's been she conducted an audit of all the waste that's being generated. So she was literally saying like the resource that could go into diverting this material. She was diving into those skips and measuring every single waste stream that was coming out there, and has produced this incredible report of all of those and at what point of the build cycle it could have been diverted. So the purpose of that funding is to essentially bring that report to the sector in our district. So it won't be solely, it's not just a Cook Brothers project, it's just going to be going out and educating on the ground with the whole sector, different construction sites.
And the iron.
Disrupt.
Yeah, there was one that came through that's just the ordinary community fund applications that got a bit of money from somewhere else. Was it, or was it something else?
Yes, yeah, probably was. No, well, Ironman may have also received funding through the index funding.
Yeah.
But this one's the funding we've got for this is specifically for that disrupt service. The other one is the second Kiwi Harvest project, which I believe came through the community fund. And there was some jiggling of allocation. We had some funding remaining in the Waste Minimisation Community Fund, and the project outcomes are very focused in the waste minimisation food production space. So we've been able to support that to fully fund the project.
Very good.
We've really enjoyed having Nicola on our panel this year. We haven't asked whether or not she'd be keen next year, but have a think about it. No, it's up for grabs. You've got a few months to think about it. But
what that means is if you've seen there once,
Pretty much.
Cody will be happy to know if there's any more school or preschool related composting project requests.
every school has a composting bin now.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Nice way to end the day.
Q tells me it's beer, some refreshments.
Yeah. I wanted to report about the line. What? Yeah.
Yes.
It's the right one.
Well, it's-